Hello, everybody. So this is Heather Vickery, Success and Leadership Coach with Vickery & Co., host of the Brave Files podcast. Today, I am sharing with you my second book in the 12 Books in 12 Months challenge. So just a tiny recap, if you haven't been following this all along, I signed up in the beginning of January to pick 12 books off of my bookshelf, which actually, that's just one of them. I love books. They're all over my house. That have just been sitting there collecting dust that I've used every excuse under the sun to not pick up and read, and challenged myself to read one book a month every month of the year. Well, I put a couple of systems in place to make that manageable. One of them was to schedule a 15-minute block of reading every day. Just 15 minutes I was committing to. If I read more than that, great, but at least 15 minutes. And then the other one was to keep my book with me. And if I'm out and about and I have free time, rather than scrolling around on social media, I was going to pick up the book and read a couple of pages. Well, I'm sharing with you the second book in my committed list of 12 books, but I'm actually nearly finished with the seventh book, and it is currently today the very last day of February. I am telling you, it's remarkable, and I'm learning so much, and I feel so good about it, and it's just there are so many wonderful rewards from doing this, and I can't say enough about making sure you take the time to learn. So, moving on, book number 2 is The Power of Habit. So, I love this book. It's been on my bookshelf for several years. As soon as I bought it, my partner read it right away, began implementing some changes. I kept putting it off. My mentor and my coach, Erin Anastasi, really wanted me to read it, and I kept saying I would, and I didn't. You know, the shoemaker's kids never have shoes. But I finally picked this one up, and it was the second book. It was actually the second book that I read. So I did read it right away, despite the fact that I've read almost 5 other books since reading this one and waiting a little while to do the recording for you. It's such a powerful, impactful book. So I have my notes here because there are a lot of thoughts, but things that I don't want to make. First of all, read this book. No matter who you are, if you own a business, if you don't own a business, if you have a family, you don't have a family, read this book, because the key takeaway is habits can't be stopped. They have to be changed and replaced with new habits. And a lot of the things that we do instinctually. We don't do them intentionally, and that's the keystone habit. And you can have control over that, which is really powerful. Okay, so the big key basic concept throughout the entire book is the idea that a habit is comprised of 3 things: a cue, a routine, and a reward. Okay? Some folks think that's just one big takeaway, and it's kind of true over and over. It's a very long book for one little takeaway, but the reality is the book is based in case studies. So it shows you all sorts of different ways and different stories different people have experienced that they can create new habits, change old habits, bad habits, by the cue, routine, and the reward. And the key takeaway in the book is that in order to shift the habit, one of those 3 things needs to change. Either the cue needs to change, the routine habitual habit that you have needs to change, or the reward. For me, with reading, this was the best habit. This was the best thing for me when changing my habit when it came to reading. I discovered that the cue was, I'm bored, I'm going to grab my phone and hang out on social media. And so instead of following through with that, I went, no, I'm not. I'm going to pick up my book. So that changed my routine. And my reward, of course, is that I'm reading all this and learning it. And it's so much fun. And I have plenty of time on social media, so it's not like I'm giving any of that up. So here's some interesting facts that I really loved in reading this book. The first one is that studies have found that more than 40% of the actions we perform each day are not actual decisions. So that's what I was talking about earlier. They're habits that we never even know we're doing. So for me, I take my kids to school every day and I go the same pattern and take the same route. And so sometimes if I'm going somewhere else in town and I'm not really paying attention to what I'm doing, the next thing I know, I show up at school and it's not where I'm going, right? So these are things we just do instinctually, like brushing your teeth. Now I think with phones and things, social media, we instinctually, in fact, I know this, we instinctually check email or jump on Instagram. A perfect example of that is I took my kids on a cruise in mid-January, and we had no internet access at all. It was magical. We were completely cut off. I when I got off the boat, I had to ask somebody if there was still a government shutdown. That's how out of touch I was for 5 days, and it was amazing. But a couple of times, I had my phone because I was able to take pictures, and there was an internal text system, an app that I could talk to my kids if we weren't in the same space. So a couple of times I grabbed my phone, and I immediately opened the email. And then I went, oh, I can't check my email. This is silly. Close it out. But I didn't even know I was doing it, right? So I find that very fascinating. And to change those deep-seated habits really takes a lot of intention and a lot of work. And one of the things that the book talks about is the first and most important thing is you have to believe that you can. You have to believe that you want the result of creating this change. And you guys, this applies to everything. As a coach, as a speaker, as a parent, as an author, you have to believe that change is possible. If you don't believe it, it's never ever going to work. So believing in yourself and the power of change is incredibly important. So, it's called the power of habit, but it's all about the power of believing in change. Some of the other key takeaways that I loved: unless you specifically fight a habit, it will unfold automatically. So again, for me, when I talk about building up new habits for reading, that habitual action of jumping on social media, I had to really fight for it. But because there was an action to it, I would grab the phone and I would begin to look. Oh, I don't want to do that. I'm going to put it down. I'm going to pick up the book. I was able to call myself on it. But I definitely had to consciously think about it. It talks a lot about social change and connection. These things are hard to do on your own. That's why people like to work out in groups. That's why group coaching works. So get an accountability system, have a buddy. It's why AA works for those of you that have experience with that, right? Knowing other people are going through something similar, having them help you and support you through the process of whatever it is that you want to try and change is a big deal. As a coach, I do that all the time. I serve as that accountability. I push people. I ask them follow-up questions. I help them stay accountable to themselves and to me to create the change that they want to change. Let's see here. So there were a couple of other things. Overall, such a great book. If you haven't read it, you should read it. There was just one thing that I thought was really, really, really powerful. I got really emotional reading the case studies. Time and again, it was proven that the way someone is treated and talked to dictate their status and success in life. And I just wanted to say how grateful I am to my mom. She always, always told me that I could do or be anything. She always told me that if there were any barriers to what I wanted, those barriers were in my head and I was making them up. I could push past that. She was constant with the message, and I have always behaved as if it were the truth. I take that lesson with me. This book talks about that. Your words matter. The people around you matter. The things that you're saying to yourself and to others about yourself and the things you're hearing from others about yourself, those things matter. But that conversation can change. That dialogue can change. You can change the way you talk to and about yourself and to others. But over and over, time and time again in this book and the case studies, it was proven that the way people treat you impacts the way you move through life and it impacts your level of success. So a couple of quotes that I really loved. There is nothing you can't do if you get the habits right. I really believe that to be the truth. Small wins fuel transformative changes by leveraging tiny advantages into patterns that convince people that their bigger achievements are within reach. This is at the core of everything I coach on and everything I teach on. Small, tiny steps, small, tiny changes, small, tiny adjustments will eventually get you where you want to go. It's not big. They're not big jumps and they're not big leaps. They're little ones. And then one day you look back and you have gone a long way and you never imagined being able to go that far. Really, really big deal. Self-discipline is a bigger effect on academic performance than intellectual intellect and talent. That one is really powerful to me. Self-discipline. How much self-discipline do you have? What do you want to have self-discipline about? It's not how smart you are. It's how willing and dedicated you are. Think about that. Okay. So, book number 2, The Power of Habit. Read it, read it, read it, read it, read it. You're going to love it. It's so good. I will be coming to you in the next 3 weeks or so with book number 3. And we will see how many books I've actually read by the time I share book number 3 on my list of 12 books in 12 months. So I hope you're reading. I want to know what you think of these books. Did you read Live Big? That was my first book. Are you reading The Power of Habit? Tell me what you think. Jump on to my website, vickeryandco.com, and send me an email or schedule a 15-minute virtual coffee chat and let me know what you're learning and how it's impacting your life. All right, have a good night. Remember, as always, to go out and choose bravely. You are not stuck. You have all the power. Bye.